solving a two-step equation with signed fractions. So for this topic, you're going to want to have a calculator on you. It'll be a lot easier if you have a calculator to do some of this fraction math for you. Doing it by hand can get a bit tedious. So here we have 1/5 minus 1/3 x is equal to -1/2. I'm going to draw a little wall here. I do that to separate both sides of the equals so that we remember that you need to do something on both sides of the equals and not just one. And I notice that I have variable only on one side, so I'm going to leave him here since he's the only variable anyway, and I'm going to move the 1/5 over. So I'm going to do minus 1/5 on both sides. Those 1/5s will cancel, and here's where your calculator is really handy. You can do this math right here, -1/2 minus 1/5, on your calculator. So that's what I'm going to do, -1/2 minus 1/5. On my calculator gives me -7/10. So the -1/3 x comes down, and now we have -7/10 on the other side. When you have a fractional coefficient like we have right here, to get rid of it, you want to multiply both sides by its reciprocal, which is just the fraction flipped upside down. So if I flip -1/3 upside down, I would have -3/1. That would cancel the 3's, it cancels the 1, and a negative times a negative makes a positive, which will leave you with just an x over here. -7/10 times -3/1 is going to give you 21/10. And you can use your calculator for that. It's always useful to use your calculator to simplify fractions. This one won't simplify at all, but it's always good to check. So your final answer is 21/10. Now, students oftentimes get a little bit nervous when they get fractional answers, and it's understandable. It's always a good idea to check your work anyway, so if you get a fraction answer and you're feeling a bit uncomfortable with it, go ahead and take your x value and plug it back into your original equation and see if the answers come out to be the same on both sides. So I have 1/5 minus 1/3, and then instead of x, I'm going to do 21/10 equals -1/2, hopefully. On my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and just do the whole thing on my calculator. 1/5 minus 1/3 times 21 divided by 10, and I indeed get -1/2 equal to -1/2, which means that our answer is correct. It's always nice to know your answer is correct before you enter it, so definitely consider doing that if you have extra time while doing your homework or during an exam especially. All right, let's go ahead and do another example. -7/5 minus 9/2 x equals -8/7. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did before. There's only one x, it's on the left-hand side, so I'm going to let him be. Instead, I'm going to get rid of the 7/5 by adding it to both sides. I'm adding it because it was a -7/5 to begin with, so you do the opposite time to get rid of it. I now have -9/2 x equals, and on my calculator, I'm going to do this math here, -8/7 plus 7/5. I really encourage you to use your calculator as your best friend here. I can't emphasize that enough. You could spend a lot of time doing this math by hand, and it's not worth it. So my calculator tells me that this is 9/35. So 9/35. Then we want to get rid of the fractional coefficient on this x. Now, when you're deciding which fraction to flip, because sometimes this comes up, you're trying to flip the fraction that's in front of the variable. I'm not going to multiply by the reciprocal of this guy because he does not matter to me. What matters is getting rid of the thing in front of the x so that the x can be all alone. So if we flip -9/2 upside down, we get 2/9. 2/9. The -9's cancel, the 2's cancel. We have x equals, and then on my calculator, I could do 9/35 times 2/9. It's a positive number times a negative number, so I know it's going to come out to be negative. And what might be kind of fun is to simplify this by hand because it's a nice one to do by hand. There's a 9 on top and bottom. They literally just cancel themselves out. All you're left with is 2/35, and that one doesn't simplify at all. Just some fun, quick mental math. But don't feel bad for using your calculator. We allow you a calculator because we want you to use it. So negative 2 over 35 is the answer to this guy. Let's do one last example. All right, 9 halves equals 9/4 y minus 1/8. Here's my equal sign, so I'll go ahead and draw a line down. There's only one variable. He is by himself. I'm just going to leave him by himself, and I'm going to move the constant over to the other side. So to get rid of a negative 1/8, I'm going to add 1/8. Those negative 1/8 cancel. In my calculator, 9 halves plus 1/8. 9 halves plus 1/8 comes out to be 37 over 8. This is a lot longer if you do this math by hand. So 37 over 8 equals 9/4 y. I want to get rid of the fractional coefficient in front of y, so I am multiplying both sides by the reciprocal of 9/4. So if you flip 9/4 upside down, you'll get 4 over 9. I'm going to do that on both sides. These 4's would cancel, those 9's would cancel, giving you just y by itself. 4/9 times 37 over 8, I'll go ahead and just do it in my calculator. I'm getting 37 over 18. So 37 over 18 equal to y, which is the same thing as saying y equals 37 over 18. Now, if you're wondering if that simplifies at all, you could always put it into your calculator should have already simplified it, but if you did it by hand and you wonder if it's simplified, then you put it in your calculator and your calculator can tell you if it gets any smaller. But that's as good as it gets for this guy. All right, keep on doing your best jobs and you've totally got this. Believe in yourself.